All right. Hello, everyone. This is Michael from SIG. I'm the product owner of Sigrid, and I have a really cool feature that I want to show off to you guys today. So if you're familiar with Sigrid, or if you're new to Sigrid, a couple of things that are really powerful about this platform is the ability for us to give you the refactoring candidates that are going to kind of help you get control of your technical debt within your systems. A refactoring candidate in this case is a finding or a piece of code artifact that is kind of reducing the quality of your systems and might be something that you want to go ahead and take into your planning for remediation going forward. Now, you might have been familiar with our refactoring candidates, and you might be familiar with our Code Explorer feature. And I'm going to go into detail on how you can kind of utilize this workflow to find the finding that you want to fix, and then actually utilize this new planning feature of the Code Explorer to generate an issue template that includes all the findings that you might want to go ahead and plan for remediation and your sprint or whatever development process you're following. So what I'm going to showcase now is we'll actually go into a system. So if you're familiar with the Sigrid dashboard, this is the portfolio overview. Every box that you see below here is a system in question that has been analyzed by the Sigrid platform. And for this one, I'm going to look into the Elasticsearch system. So now we've gone to the system level page, and what you see at the top bar, you see a couple of tabs here. And you have maintainability, architecture, security, open source health, and Code Explorer. Now, the first four are kind of capabilities that produce findings, right? So maintainability produces refactoring candidates, security produces security findings, these kind of things. And all of these are collected in our Code Explorer navigation platform. So I'm going to go ahead and go into there, and we can look and see what happens in the system. So the Code Explorer is a very nice interface in that it kind of mimics what IDE looks like for a development team. So if I want to understand, a particular context that I'm working in, maybe I'm working in a folder or a particular file for this sprint, I'm going to, improve the functionality there or add some new feature, or, I'm planning to do some bug fixing. It's worthwhile to go ahead and look into Sigrid and see, well, what are the technical findings that Sigrid has uncovered for us that we could also fix in tandem with the development work that we're currently planning for. So in this case, you're met with a nice search bar. You have a directory tree that maps to your development environment. This should look very familiar to you if you're a developer. And what we can do is we can actually go in here and search for a particular file. I know the system, so I'm going to look for this node.java file, which I know has a couple of findings related to it. So we go ahead and we open this guy up. And first of all, what you see the expanded directory tree on the left-hand side. It's found every file that has node in it. And then you see on the right-hand side some source code related to it. So this is the actual file in question. I can just kind of scroll through and show you the entirety of the source code for this file. And you see a couple of highlightings. These are basically your findings, right? So if we kind of go through, we see there's a number of findings here that are interesting, that maybe I want to analyze, maybe I want to consider it for remediation, and that we're going to bring this in to refactor it later. But easier is going to the findings table down below. So in the findings table, you see a couple of tabs: maintainability, security. These are the findings that are related to those capabilities that I talked about a little bit earlier. So looking in maintainability, if you're familiar again with our refactoring candidates, this should be relatively familiar to you, that we have a set of other tabs that relate to a specific type of finding that is in this file. In this case, unit size, we can go to this and we see that there's one finding here that's named node2string. This is an actual, say, method or function within this file. That, yeah, looking at it, it's a bit long. There's some complexity here, a lot of if statements, but whatnot. So if I was a developer, I think, well, maybe I want to go ahead and plan this for remediation going forward. And now what Sigrid provides you here in the Code Explorer is a nice ability to actually generate a issue template that includes this finding in your issue tracking software. So there's a nice little button here called Add to Planning when I'm looking at the findings table, right? So this Add to Planning toggle is very cool. If I click on it, what it does is you see that this button, Go to Planning, has now been kind of brought to full color, and it has a little number next to it. This little number indicates that, well, I've added something to a list behind the scenes of things that I want to fix. Now, before I go and click on this button, let's go look at a couple of other findings that we might have. So if I look at unit complexity, okay, I see that I still have this kind of original file here, but this is a different finding type. So you see that it's not planned, because this one, actually, the same method has a complexity issue, that there's a lot of branching statements here. So we can go ahead and plan this because, well, I know I'm going to touch it to fix the unit size issue. Why not fix the complexity while I'm at it? So we go ahead and toggle on that add to planning button. And now you see that there's a little 2 here at the go to planning button. I see there's another finding here. Maybe this is interesting. So we go ahead and click on it. And again, I'm met with another method. There seems to be some complexity here. Yes, let's go ahead and fix it, right? I'm in the file, why not? So we go ahead and toggle that guy on. And now you see there's a nice 3 here. So what does this 3 actually mean? Well, now if we actually do click on this button, you're met with a new panel. Now there's a couple of things going on here. On the right-hand side, you see a list of the findings that I've selected that I want to go ahead and plan for remediation. All right, I've decided that these things need to be fixed, and I've added them here because I want to include them all in a single ticket. Now, what does this ticket look like? Well, if I look on the left-hand side, I see now that I have actually a dialog box with a template that is generated from Markdown that can be kind of copy and pasted into any issue tracking software that your favorite issue tracking software. Then maybe you use Jira, maybe you use Azure DevOps, GitLab, GitHub. All of these kind of facilitate creating tickets out of Markdown findings. So from here, we can just kind of copy this to our clipboard, and then it's very easy to just copy and paste this in. What you see in the actual text here is, well, you have a finding, right? 20 lines of code for unit node to string. This is a unit size violation, but then you actually have the link itself that is included in the ticket. This is really nice for traceability. So if I've copied and pasted this into my issue tracking software and I've generated a template, an issue that I want to include in my roadmap, I now have the ability to trace back where this comes from in Sigrid. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this guy in so we can see what it actually looks like whenever, if you're navigating in this way. So quickly, a little bit loading, and now you're actually met with the finding details in question, right? So you see a little bit of an expanded view over what's going on with this finding. You have the source code again, you have the details again, and you can see kind of the risk profile and where this method is actually falling in terms of our kind of risk categorization. So you see it's a little bit of moderate risk. Probably we want to fix this because it's 20 lines of code. So that's a way to kind of navigate back to this issue in Sigrid once you've actually generated an issue around it. If I go back to the planning feature, let's look around and see what else we can include here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and close this for now. Maybe we're really interested in a security type of finding, right? So we've looked at maintainability, but how do these security issues fall into place? What I'm going to do now is actually look at a higher level in the directory trees. So we see node.java here. It resides in a couple of folders. I'm going to close some of them, and I'm going to click on this client folder. Now, what happens whenever you look at a folder level in the Code Explorer, you're getting an aggregate of all the findings for all the files that are included in that folder. And what I see now, well, there's quite some issues in this case for this client folder. There's 270 maintainability violations. But what I'm curious about are these security violations. So looking here, I actually see 3 security findings, 2 of which have already been fixed already, which is great. But there's one that is outstanding. And this one that is outstanding is pretty interesting for me. Maybe I want to look at it a little bit deeper. So go ahead and clicking on it. And I see that there's a improper accession handling going on here. This is probably a nice fix to have. I do have a comment saying that it's unlikely to happen, but we could probably do something to make this a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to our planning feature. And now it's included in the list. You see that the 4 items are now in the list. So if I open it up, again, we're met with the same issue template. And I can see, well, okay, I have a maintainability section with unit size and unit complexity findings. But now I also have a section dedicated to security. And this finding is now in place. Again, with its link back to Sigrid. So you have this traceability. You can mix and match the different findings that you have in your code base and include them all in a ticket to kind of encapsulate your remediation work over the technical debt that you want to plan going forward. Now, what happens if you want to actually remove a finding from here? It's relatively simple. You go onto the right side of the screen, and every finding has a little X toggle next to it. And it's as simple as just clicking that button to remove it from the plan. And you see that the actual markdown template has now been adjusted dynamically on the fly. Simple as that. So this kind of marks the story that I wanted to share about our Code Explorers planning feature. We're really proud to release this. We really think it's going to facilitate the ability to, make these changes in Sigrid. You have the analysis results and you have the findings. Now let's plan around those findings. That's what we're really trying to give you, this sort of workflow. So I thank you for watching, and yeah, happy exploring.